Hello and welcome to Celebrating Simple Life. I'm Kimberly and I've been planning parties and incredible events for the past 15 years. I'm passionate about connecting people, making gatherings purposeful, and making the most out of every moment. Join me as we learn together how to find joy, celebrate the simple things in life, use events to grow your business, entertain with purpose, and have a whole lot of fun along the way. Cheers to Celebrating Simple Life. Before I introduce today's guest, I am going to read the review of the week. And you guys, these reviews keep coming in and it makes me feel like I know exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. And it just makes my heart leap up that you take the time to not only listen to the podcast, but to rate and review. So this week's review, positive, influential, and inspiring, comes from Chaus27, Chaus 27. From the second that I met Kimberly over a video call, I knew she was my kind of girl. Just being around her changes my perspective on so many things, and she grasps the good out of every situation. They say you should surround yourself with the 5 positive people that lift, motivate, and inspire you. Well, Kimberly is definitely at the top of my list. Wow, thank you. That is starting my week out on the perfect note. So message me, Chaus27, on Instagram, and we will get your special gift right out to you. Today on the show, I'm chatting with Rebecca Simpson, co-owner of The Barn at Wind's Edge, Saskatoon's newest and absolutely incredible event venue. This is not your average barn. When I walked into this beautiful event center for the first time, I was absolutely speechless. And that's saying something because that is a rarity in my world. Rebecca and I will be chatting today about the event industry, how she dreamed up the idea of a barn event center, and what she did to turn that dream into a reality. Rebecca is such a joy, and you are going to love our conversation, so stay tuned. Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm so well, thank you.
Good. We get to sit in the most beautiful place, I'll almost say on earth, in Saskatoon. You have just done such an incredible job here, and I'm so excited to chat with you about everything today. You have just had such a cool evolvement of your career and your life and entrepreneurship, and you are just such an inspiration, and I'm so happy that we get to chat because I feel like we should have met a long time ago, but I'm glad our paths are crossing.
I'm glad they're finally crossing.
I know. So here it is. So now we get to dig in, and I really want to hear about your start in being an entrepreneur, first of all, and we'll go back to the beginning because the barn is your newest venture and it's still new. So we will get to that later, and I'm excited to talk about that. But first I want to hear about you and how you got started in just owning your own business years ago.
Well, I think it was actually quite accidental. I've probably always been an entrepreneur, but I was reluctant at the beginning to admit that. I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, so I was I did not want to be an entrepreneur. My dad worked really long hours. We didn't see him very much, and I just saw him working so hard, and so I really just thought, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. So
right.
I actually have a teaching degree, and I taught for a few years, and after I had my first son, I couldn't go back to teaching. I just wasn't passionate enough about it to leave my brand new baby with a stranger.
You got to love something pretty hard to leave your baby.
Yeah. So I there were definite aspects that I loved of teaching, and my whole family would say that I always was the teacher, mostly just bossing my brother and sister.
Maybe that's why we get along so well. There's a common bossiness.
But I used to make them do their work in these workbooks at home, and I was always a teacher. So that was the path that I took. And then, it's about, I guess it was 16 years ago, I didn't go back to teaching. And I just started working part-time in my dad's business when my son was about 18 months old. I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I thought I did, but after being home for 18 months, I couldn't handle it. I wanted to see adults. I wanted to have productive things going on in my day. And so I worked part-time for my dad. He owned Centennial Plumbing and Heating at the time. And so I just dabbled in some marketing stuff. I did some special projects. Basically, I got to do what I wanted.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was really fun. And then I re-met my friend Jordana Jacobson, who currently owns Cravings Maternity and Baby. So we were at a party. Our paths kind of had crossed over the years. We grew up both in Saskatoon in the Jewish community. So we knew of each other, but we were never friends. And so we kind of re-met. And we were at a party at the Sheraton, and she approached me and said, I'm going to open a business and I want you to do it with me. And I said, no, I am not doing that. I don't want to be an entrepreneur, but I'll work for you. And then I talked about it with my family, I think, for a day, and then I told her that I'd be in.
Oh, so, I love it. That's the sign of a true entrepreneur, when it's like takes the littlest decision to like make a catastrophic big life change.
Yes. So I'm so terrible with dates, but whenever that was, back many years ago.
We won't date ourselves. We're really youthful.
Yes. We opened Cravings Maternity and Baby in the I can't even remember what mall that was. It's across from where it is now.
Yeah.
Behind the Bank of Montreal in the Dundee building. So it was this little 1,200 square foot store that was like all of our dreams come true. We had poured every little ounce of energy that we had into it. We were both working part-time because we both had really young kids. And we hadn't really thought about it expanding. We hadn't thought about even restocking the shelves.
Like you were just doing it.
Like we had this goal. We were going to get this store open, and it opened. And then, a few days later, it's like, oh my gosh, we need more of this and more of that.
People are actually buying this stuff.
So we hadn't even thought that through. Neither of us were entrepreneurs. Neither of us had a background in business. So we were kind of like reinventing the wheel on some of the things.
And you know what? I remember I was just getting into the event planning industry when you guys opened this store, and I didn't know you or Jordana. I didn't know any of you, but I remember that store opening and that being like a pivotal, looking back on it now, like didn't necessarily know that at the time, but when it opened, there weren't a lot of really high-end boutique kind of type shops in Saskatoon, as far as I remember. Like I was maybe more focused on it because that was the age and stage that I was in as well, with having young kids. So a baby boutique was like right in my wheelhouse of like places I would want to go anyways. But yeah, I remember thinking that and being like, wow, not even knowing you, like this takes a lot of courage and a lot of details to put out this high-end boutique doing all of these things while raising such a young family. I think it's so cool. And I didn't even know you then, and now we get to talk about it.
It feels like, I don't know, many lifetimes ago, but the same, the skills that I learned then I still use today. And business is business. So we learned a lot of things. We worked out all these processes, and we had a fairly, well-oiled machine until we realized like the two of us couldn't manage that ourselves.
Right.
So we had to hire our first employee. And then that really made it real when you're putting your processes down on paper and you're working out all the details.
Totally. It's not just for yourselves anymore.
Doing it just yourself. I still have a problem with, delegating and letting other people do things, but it was a great test of that, of letting things go and making sure that you're working behind the scenes to ensure that things are being done properly. So that business just kept growing and growing. We outgrew our space in a matter of, a couple of years, moved across the street, opened a second store for kids. And it was just exciting all the time. And then I think my kids weren't in that stage anymore. We had opened the kids store. And my kids then had outgrown even the kids store. And I don't know if it was just, we just kind of, Jordana and I had kind of gone in separate not separate ways, but kind of changed
directions.
Yeah. My kids were older, and I had been pressured for quite some time to join our family's business. And I had been dabbling in some home building with my brother when I still owned Cravings. And so I decided to sell my shares. It was very, very difficult to grow a business from the ground up and then sell. But I knew it was in good hands. So Jordana bought me out of the business. Again, I can't remember the dates because that's just not my thing. But it's been several years now, and she's done an incredible job of just continuing to revamp and keep the business relevant.
Totally. Well, and it probably feels good to like see something that you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, still being able to like thrive and go on, and that was your beginning, right?
Yeah. No, I think that had it been sold to someone else that I didn't have the confidence in, I don't know if I would have been able to. Like, you just put so much of yourself into it, but knowing that it was in good hands, made it so much easier. It was still so hard.
Just because it's like a piece of you, right?
It is. And the relationships that I had built, like seeing our staff every single day for years and years.
They're like family.
And then for the next day to wake up and not have that, it was hard. But then, so I started in the family business, which is Centennial Plumbing and Heating. And my passion is company culture and teams and just people. Mm-hmm. And so I came in, and I wasn't working full time when I first went there, and was just kind of working on a few things, tweaking some processes again, just to try to make things more customer friendly and team oriented and things like that. So then worked really closely with the marketing team there, and we did a huge rebrand to Centennial 360, and just kind of a whole internal and external rebrand, which was huge. And then I eventually became full-time, and then more than full-time.
Right. As it goes.
Yeah, as it goes. And we did a lot of awesome stuff there. And my brother and I guess we're both vying for the top position. So who was going to be in charge? I mean, every few months it was like, okay, we need to work on the org chart. And it was just it just never worked. There was never a way to get that org chart to kind of have myself and my brother working of where everybody fits. So usually there was an org chart, and then I'd be off to the side. And I'd be like,
hello,
I'm over here just sprinkling fairy dust on everything. And so, it was really hard. I don't think I realized, I was expecting it to be hard to work with my husband, who also works in the business, but I guess I had never expected working with my brother would be difficult, because we had worked together quite a bit in the past, and we worked really well together, but we had never been competing for the same position. I also didn't realize we have very, very different just business approaches. And so we're quite incompatible when it comes to business. But he pointed out to me that he was definitely more passionate about plumbing.
Okay.
And I took that to heart, and I decided to leave the company. So again, this one wasn't necessarily on my terms. But obviously it was the right thing to do, because it was the catalyst for this new business.
Yes. So you're leaving. So as you're like exiting out of there, do you know what's next?
No. So I had no idea. And I was just a mess, because I realized after being an entrepreneur for that period of time, that I can't work for other people.
Like, you're just going to go find a desk
what
job.
Am I going to do? Yeah. Like, really, am I going to go work at HomeSense?
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I had never had time to do all the things that I wanted to do, but finally in that moment when I actually had time, I didn't want to do it. It was a really low point for me. So I had this thought in my mind about this party barn for years and years. And so because I didn't have anything else going on, I started working on it. And
so this is just you unto yourself thinking, hey, this would be fun. And you're just thinking, dreaming this up and like taking notes and writing things down and just going for it all by yourself, not telling anybody about this?
I have talked like just almost jokingly about this plan for years. Like I want to say maybe for 10 years, I had this idea. First of all, it was going to be that I would build my own party barn, and it would just be for my own parties.
I love it.
But it would be very small.
I couldn't love that more.
So I'm a city girl, but I've always just loved the country. I don't love hay bales, but I don't know, there's something.
There's a freedom about it though, right? Yeah, totally.
Just like space and I don't know, nature and everything. So I don't know. So I've always had this dream. Then we went to my cousin's wedding in Arizona in this great big old barn that was the most like Pinterest, before Pinterest was even big, like it was the most Pinterest worthy wedding ever, just the most beautiful everything. And I was like, we need this in Saskatoon.
I need a party barn.
We also need it to be in the desert, so you can like
have consistent weather. Okay,
So yeah, I guess I'm so bad with timing of everything, but I did have this dream. Then I approached my friend Joanne, who is my current business partner. She and I knew each other through our boys. Her son Ben and my son Noah went to kindergarten together, and we're best friends ever since kindergarten. And so for her, I had been talking to her about this for, I don't know, maybe 5 years, saying your place would be the perfect spot. You have to do something here. It's beautiful. It's so close to the city. And so then I roped her into this dream that I had, that it was just like this, it's time.
So how did you approach, I need to like dig into this a little bit here, because I think that for people listening, I think that there's a lot of people who have a lot of wild ideas. You and I can't possibly be the only two humans on earth that have wild ideas. Yeah. My whole life has been that way too, where I get these ideas and a lot of the time I act on them, much to my husband's dismay, where I'm like, we're doing this. Let's go dig in and dive in, and not throwing all caution to the wind, but definitely more than some would feel comfortable with. And that I don't lose a wink of sleep over it. Like I am just ready to go. And I can see that that's how you are too. So how, when you get this idea where you've probably, you know that it's real, but you're joking it off to people being like, oh, we should have a party barn, and like seeing what the reaction is right on it. How do you approach Joanne and be like, I'm serious. Actually, I want you to like get on board with this. What was the conversation like?
So I think the first official meeting included a lot of wine, and
that's where the best decisions happen.
My husband and I, and then her husband and she came to our house, and we were sitting in our family room, and we started kind of sketching these ideas.
So the intent of hanging out that night was to chat about this. It wasn't like, and by the way, third bottle, we're just opening a third bottle here, but I have an idea.
I have to get her side of the story, but I don't think I ambushed her. Like, I'm pretty sure that we.
That'll be for another episode. Yes. We will bring in Joanne to get us the truth.
For sure. And originally, the plan would be that we would find an old barn and that we would move it onto the site.
Okay.
That was kind of the original plan. And we had about $1.5 million budget.
Yeah.
That sounded really big.
Perfect.
Like that sounded like a big plan. And then we started researching it. There weren't really any big barns big enough. Then we realized that because of our weather, to make it worthwhile, we would need it to be full
4 seasons.
4 seasons.
Yes.
And then we decided, like, if we were actually going to make something insulated and 4 season, that you would lose the appeal of that beautiful barn. Plus, then you've got the animal smells and the, bugs and other vermin.
You're trying to, put, like, lipstick on a pig.
Exactly. Yeah. So then, again, exact details I don't remember, but we had been working at Centennial with a draftsperson. And so I said, can you just put together a party barn for us? Here are our ideas, and let's just see kind of where we're at for square footage and what exactly we would
to be able to
so
cost
we can
stuff
just
out
get a basic budget. So our $1.5 million budget was quickly blown out of the water, and we now have a 12,000 square foot facility, including a a ceremony hall, an outdoor space, everything that you need. So it kind of exploded. Every time I would tell Joanne that what we were kind of the next step would be, she kind of like went into panic mode. She actually works for the federal government.
Okay.
She's a scientist. Like this
logic,
is like,
facts,
yes,
timelines.
And I'm just like all about fluff and fun. And so she would be really hesitant, and I would just say, okay, just trust me, we can do this. And we just somehow made it happen. There was so much red tape. It was so discouraging at times, just getting approval on everything. Even our new budget was way under budget. So we had a moment of not even sure if the project was going to go through with our financing. And everything did come together. So I do feel like things happen for a reason, but we fought really hard to make it work.
Well, and that's always that fine line, right? Between wanting something and how many roadblocks come in the way before you're like, am I being told that we're not supposed to do this? Or do we push forward because we have faith that this is like what's supposed to be happening, right? How then, so we are in this 12,000 square foot space right now recording this, and I've been here a few times for different things, and like you just as you drive up, I feel like the thing that I love about it is you drive up, you are clearly outside of the city. It is acreages and rolling hills and beautiful landscape, and you feel like you're like, it's breath of fresh air. But you're driving down like a highway style road to get here. It's not like you're on a gravel road or somewhere that feels off the beaten path. You're off there, and it all of a sudden just jumps up out of you out of nowhere. It's like it's not there, and then it's like it's breathtaking. You drive up, like you have done an impeccable job. And I've been in the event industry for 15 years and have done events in random hole in the ground style of events all the way to the most beautiful locations that there are to have events in, where fireworks are flashing up, like it's all over the map. But I feel like there's an energy and a uniqueness about this space. And the very first time I walked in, I am not at a loss for words very often. And I also am not really like, after being in this industry for so long, I seek out things that are going to like wow me, like try to wow me. I want to be wowed, but it's really hard after you've sort of felt like you've done so much in the industry. I was wowed. I walked in and was so wowed. Like, it's beautiful. The attention to detail is evident the second you walk in there, and everything that we've even had conversations about this space. You're like, oh yeah, there's that, and there's that, and there's that. Like, it's just so thought through. And how was that process of how did you, I guess, think through big picture events? Because for me, I always work backwards. Like I think you will probably agree to this too. Like, that's sort of the nature of the event industry, right? Somebody either comes up to you and says, this is what I want my party or wedding or dinner party or corporate event. This is what I'm wanting. I don't know how to get there. Right. And so you have to try to make the Pinterest board come to life, right? Sort of the job. So how did you work through those details in order to kind of think backwards of somebody's going to come here and have their event here, and I want them to be wowed, but what are we all going to need to have here?
Do you dream up events or parties that you think would be fun to host in your home or to connect with other businesses, but you just don't know where to begin? Events and party planning can be really overwhelming, but it's just a pop fizz click to celebratingsimplelife.com. There you can click to download your free event planning checklist to get you started on your next celebration. Cheers to celebrating simple life.
Disappointed where when I've been I was not an event planner. I I love events. I love throwing my own parties. My mom does the Silver Spoon dinner. So we kind of, as a family, were thrown into that world. But I had never officially been an event planner. I think my brain works that way.
Yeah.
I get it. And I realize now that that's not how everybody thinks.
Right.
And, I just assume
that we might be the weird ones.
Yeah, we're for sure the weird ones. But I think that's how I started. It just was, what are some of the things that I wish had been available to me? What are some of the things that have annoyed me over the years when I've been doing my own events? And how can we try to alleviate those things? And so that's kind of how all these little details came to be. We worked with the architecture and design firm AODBT. So once we had our preliminary drawings, we took it to the experts. They didn't change too much in terms of what we originally had as our concept, other than, tweaking. Some of the things weren't as logical as they needed to be. We needed the kitchen bigger. We needed more bathroom stalls for code. Just things like that. But in terms of the finishing, they took my vision and just even exceeded my expectations, which, like you said, I'm usually disappointed. I don't want to sound it like I am just.
Well, and it's not like, it's not a downer thing. Like, it's not like oh man, everything sucks.
I'm usually a positive person.
Yeah.
But I don't get wowed that easily.
I get it.
So when I actually walked into our own building that we had been designing for, I think it was like 3+ years, in the design phase, I was blown away. So you can imagine somebody, like, just for me, who doesn't get excited like that. Usually it's like, oh, that's not right. Oh, that has to be moved.
Oh, I thought that would be bigger, more grandiose.
Like, I don't know about this color. I just was like, wow. I walked into the foyer once they put up the cupola, and it was just like, this is even better than I imagined. So I think that just, all the details came together with talking through like, okay, a wedding. What are the steps what most weddings have some commonality? What are people going to need? Our biggest thing for weddings is we want to have a place where you can do it all.
Yes.
Come here in the morning, get your hair and makeup done. So we created a hair and makeup station. We have lots of sitting areas. We have lots of space. We have, actually, this is the funniest one. We made the toilet to have enough room on both sides so that the bride would have room to have her entourage hold the dress
and
up.
It's noticeable. I noticed that when I came in here. I'm like, it is evident that these details have been somebody that has clearly understood the industry.
So I'm a big picture person, but I like to nitpick details. So I think that most of the things that we wanted to achieve have been achieved. And then as we continue on, we get feedback, and we've already made a few changes just based on that feedback. The chairs for the hair and makeup weren't high enough, or, just little things.
Yeah, that you can't really always necessarily know ahead of time. But
so, I'm always somebody who just likes to assess like every touch point for the client and figure out how to do it best and do it differently. Like, I think so many people get stuck in the status quo, and it's like, okay, this is the box of your industry, and this is how you have to do things. And I think that because I'm not a business-minded person per se, I like to always look outside of the industry to kind of come up with better ways of doing things. And I don't like being told, I never liked being told that you have to do something a certain way just because it's always been
There is like not one single thing that you have said that I'm like disagreeing with. I'm like, oh my goodness, you're reading my thoughts.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. I wish this had been created like 15 years ago, because I have always had clients asking for the most, 15 years ago, people were a little bit more like into the status quo, where it was like, okay, you go to this place and this is where you do it and you follow these rules and that's how it is. And it very quickly, I realized, evolved into, I want to find the most unique place that nobody has ever had their event before. And we're going to try to do it in some underground, where you're trying to make something out of nothing, which has its whole other levels to it. But this, I feel like, is a perfect happy medium of like, you come in, there's clearly defined spaces and clearly things of like what can be done where, but there's a lot of gray area to say, oh, I'm going to do this here instead. I'm going to do this here instead. And you can kind of just make it your own. And I love that you have that bridal makeup suite and you have that cool groom's guy kind of lounge area with games and couches, and like they can hang out there too. And then you just, each place, it's seamless how it flows together, but yet each area kind of has its own defined style, where when you're in the main ballroom, it has this like rustic yet formal feel to it. And then you walk into other areas and it's so white and crisp, and white is like my jam. I love everything white. And so standing in there, I'm like, this might be my happy place. I could just sit in here all day long and look out at the landscape.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Weekdays especially.
Yeah, you might just find me like sitting in here when you get here. But yeah, it's beautiful. And then obviously, like we talked about, the landscape, and you have this patio that kind of connects all of the spaces and being outside. And we do live in a very challenging climate for outdoor events. And so it's nice to have that flow and have that as an option for people to be able to go outside and to do stuff. So, do you notice, so from the events that you've done in here thus far, I think probably from like an outsider looking in as to like the types of things going on, you look at this bar and you're like, oh my goodness, that's a wedding venue. I am not in the wedding industry per se of events that I plan for people. So for me, I right away was like, oh my goodness, my corporate clients are going to love this as much as I do. And thinking about all of the cool boutique-y and curated type of events that could happen here. What would you say are you noticing like trends in like 2019 and like things that are coming up into that you maybe would predict for 2020 are coming up, like in the events that you're seeing? Are you noticing that couples, like whether it's in weddings, because you do all varieties of events here, right?
We do, yes. Our focus for the first year definitely was weddings. So a lot of our design features were to accommodate a couple getting married. But again, like you said, we've already done a few fundraisers. We've done some workshops here. I think the sky's the limit. We would love to host any kind of event. I don't know, trend-wise, weddings are still big. Most Saturdays now for 2020 are booked for weddings.
Do you have any weekday weddings? Do people ever book on a weekday?
We have a couple Sunday weddings.
Okay. I once did a wedding for a client years ago on a Tuesday morning.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be the best. I know. I'm like, I actually said that to them. I'm like, how do we convince more of your peers to want to get married on a Thursday?
I would love a Thursday. My dream, and I'm hoping someone's going to fulfill this dream.
Okay, you're hearing this here, folks. Somebody fulfill this dream. Let's hear it.
And it doesn't have to be a weekday. That's not my dream. Right. But I want somebody to do like a evening wedding. So like have the ceremony right at dusk, like with that perfect light.
Golden hour light.
Outside. Mosquitoes might be, we spray. So hopefully the mosquitoes won't be an issue, but just have that and then just flow right into the reception. Like that is if I were to get married again to the same person.
So if you want to be featured on the Barn at Winds Edge's Instagram because they need some nude time of day photos, that sounds amazing. People, and it's so beautiful out here. Like being out here for different things that I've been out here for, seeing it at different times of day. It is, I've used this word, it's breathtaking. It is so beautiful out here. It's quiet and it's calm, and you are literally like 5 minutes from being at any type of shopping portion of Saskatoon and businesses area. But then you're out here and you're like, I feel like I'm on vacation somewhere. Like you're in a whole new world.
The patio has this kind of tropical feel when you have the music playing over the speakers. Oh, yeah, I do love it.
Okay, so now here's a question for you. Have you hosted your own party here for yourself? Do you entertain here?
Not yet. I dream of it. It's like the perfect night for a patio party. I'm like, oh, I got to get to work.
Yeah, totally.
Do these other things. Someday I'll have my own party. We're planning my youngest son's bar mitzvah for next year. So we will have on May long weekend 2020, we will be celebrating one of our own.
The barn will be rocking.
It will be our own event.
That's cool.
Exciting. Yeah.
So in the events with weddings or corporate or other events that you've done here, what would you say since you've opened has been like one of your most like memorable or cool moments that have maybe happened here, and like actually seeing there's somebody having a really important moment in their life in this space that I dreamed up, and they are like, this is now where their memories are beginning from here because of something you dreamed up. Is there like anything that stands out to you?
I don't have a specific moment, but it blows my mind how we've created kind of the bones, but everybody puts their personal touch on it. And so, we have often had back-to-back events. So Friday night we have a wedding, then Saturday night we have a wedding, and then a couple days later we have a fundraising event, and the room and the space just looks so different, but so fabulous in different ways. So I love that. I think one of the weddings we had, they did this sparkler first dance, and it was just something magical about it. Everyone was standing with these sparklers out on the patio, and it was dark, and beautiful. It was stunning. And that was a moment of like, people are going to remember this forever.
Yeah.
And it's at my place. Like, we created this place from a kind of a long time just thought that was up there. So I think for people that have kind of a wild idea in their head, it can happen. You have to be a little bit crazy, or maybe a lot of bit crazy to persevere when so many things are maybe telling you that it's not meant to be. But in the back of my mind, I just kept thinking, no, I know, like, we've done research, we know it's needed. And now we're booked like solidly to 2020, and people wanting to book 2021. And so I know it was the right thing. We did the right thing. But there were times when it was just, I remember being out with a group of friends at a fundraising dinner, and I had just heard that the bank probably wasn't going to finance the project. And I just was heartbroken. Like, it was just like, I'd poured so much, not just me, Joanna and I both had poured so much time and energy. And then I was thinking, and now what am I going to do? What can I possibly do that would fulfill me?
Totally, because this was your dream.
This was my dream. But thank goodness things worked out. We had a last minute angel investor come in, and everything went as
and I
planned.
think that really speaks to, I in the last 6 months have been reading the book The Art of Gathering, and it's a book, and the author, she just talks a lot about gathering in lots of different circumstances. Gathering from just like with your family, gathering can mean so many things, but anytime anybody's coming together is considered a gathering. So whether you're out for drinks with a friend, that's still technically a gathering. Whether you're hosting a massive conference, that's a gathering. And it's all just about the experience and human connection and bringing people together. And I think that because that was already a part of your kind of core values, you knew that was something that you've always wanted to do. I think you can feel that in this space. I think you can feel that. And I think that there are those moments in life. I think everybody's craving that like human connection, and you just want people to understand you and know you. And I believe, especially with what I do for a living as an event coordinator, I believe that the space that you are surrounding yourself in, so whether that be your home, if you're hosting something in your house, a dinner party, or just having friends over and it's super casual, whatever the case may be, or you're having a wedding or a conference or something in a beautiful venue like this, there's something about just the way that you are like paying attention to details, and your surroundings really do like come into the experience. And I think sometimes a lot of people are scared to host something in their home, or they think their house isn't good enough, or like we all like have our little doubts and like things like that, where you're like, oh man, but this isn't done and this isn't done, I shouldn't have them here. But I think to know that who you're surrounded by can just be such a huge part of the venue of your event, right? And I think that this space just speaks volumes to that. And so I think that it's important. I love what you said about how just to like listen to that like nudge inside of you and to like just go for it when you feel like it's something. And you were surrounded by people who were saying, yes, do this, right? And you like had a community of people. And I think that that is partially why I like connecting with new people as well, because you're building a community. And if you had everybody around you being like, oh, Rebecca, this is a horrible idea, and then the bank came in and also said that the financing wasn't going to go, you would have probably very quickly been floating down a different path when it wasn't necessarily the way you wanted it to go. And so I think it's neat to see how community can actually help guide the path that you're supposed to be on, and listening to that inner nudge.
Absolutely. No, I think over the years I've really tried to surround myself with positive people. There will always be critics, and there will always be people who tell you can't do things, but if you let them be the voice that you're hearing, then that will guide you and it will make the decisions in your life maybe not what you wanted.
I agree.
I think it had been an emotional roller coaster. Like, don't get me wrong.
Nobody's saying this is easy.
I was losing sleep. I was a basket case. Like, it was selfish too. Like, I wanted it so badly for me. Like, I had poured so much of myself, and it's like, I don't want that to have gone to waste.
Because you were giving up really other good things in your life. You were giving up time with your family and time doing other things to make this a go, right?
And we already had invested so much money too into it. So it also would have been just that piece of throwing away the money that also felt terrible.
Totally.
So, I mean, I guess things happen for a reason. But you have to put in so much hard work to make those things happen.
Well, and I think that's right. And I think that's often a misconception of either just what being an entrepreneur is or what owning your own business is, oh, well, that's living the dream, because now you really barely have to work and everyone just does everything for you. And I haven't ever met another entrepreneur that would agree with that information. Like, that's a very big misconception. I think the difference is that you're so passionate about what it is you're doing that it doesn't feel like you're at a desk 9 to 5.
I love what I do. I was calculating, and not to have anyone feel sorry for me at all, because I love what I do. But last weekend, Friday and Saturday, we had 2 weddings. I worked 40 hours in 2 days, and I had 2 hours of sleep. Yeah. So it's hard work. But you do it because you love it and you can see the outcome. And that's my favorite thing, is just serving people and making their dreams come true behind the scenes. Like, you don't even need them to know what you're like a magical fairy. I love that. And I love hiring people who just love serving people. In terms of, just making a team that are always positive, happy, not complaining about doing the little extra things. It's just those are things that I get really excited about. If I can do something almost sneaky that people may not even notice.
Get your little magic wand out. And
I love that.
Oh, well,
I love that.
It is evident that is how you are, and it is evident that is what the clients and customers of this venue are going to get when they are here, because this place just feels like a little piece of paradise. So congrats. This is amazing.
It means so much to hear that. A lot of work went into it, but it is just nice to hear that those details are appreciated by somebody who gets it. I think most people, if you're not in the event industry, it works, and so you don't have anything to complain about.
Totally.
And it just is easy. Most people don't notice all
Well, that's
of it,
often what I've said that over the years too, just even to myself and to people in the industry, where it's everyone notices when something goes catastrophic. If one thing is wrong and 100 things are right, they will definitely notice the thing that goes wrong. Right. But to me, a successful event is when things are going wrong and nobody notices, because they always do. There has never ever once in the history of my life been a picture perfect day. But most of my events look picture perfect. Yeah. There's like a rarity of something going wrong that isn't fixed, and that's the nature of it, right? It's to be able to be that behind the scenes magical workings where nobody will really notice. And often you don't hear the accolades because nothing's gone wrong.
No.
So they're just like, oh, this is how it should be. Yes, totally.
Favorite. And not that I want to hope that things go wrong during the events, but I think that's where I thrive.
Yeah.
Is just that in the moment problem solving and not getting worked up over it. It's just like, here's the issue. We're going to deal with it. We're going to do this, and no one's going to know.
Check. We're solved.
And done and on to the next one.
Totally. So I always like to finish up the interview just like talking about, because I want to know about you. We're talking about the barn and we're talking about, and it has you all over it in here. Yes. You are now partly a part of this barn. But I want to know sort of, I think that the life balance, especially for women, like the life balance of, I don't even like to use the word balance because it just feels like unattainable, but what a day looks like. Obviously, I mean, maybe you do sleep here occasionally. I feel like that would probably be easier when you have 3 events on a weekend, but what do you do in your morning? So you're like getting up and like, what would be what sets the day? What sets the tone for your day? Is it just mad chaos and you wait to get here?
Yeah, I don't know if you want, I'm definitely not a master in this area. I think that, pardon my language, but the next book, I haven't written a book, but I have all these book titles on stickies.
Yeah.
And so right now the current one is, and excuse my language, but balance is bullshit is the next title. It's on my bulletin board now.
Perfect.
So no, I don't ever think that you actually can achieve balance. And I think that is what often gets people almost more worked up, is that you're always trying to achieve something that is non-existent. You're never at that exact
So you can't ever really be content then because it's not.
No. So I think right now my family is in a total chaotic phase. I'm hoping by 2020, that's my goal, that we can have a little bit more just semblance of normal.
But the needles may be pointing more towards family a little bit than to work.
Towards normal.
Yeah.
Normal. Which includes family. So right now my children are completely neglected.
Right.
My home is a disaster. My dogs are neglected. I have done a terrible job with being a mom this last couple of years, because I have put all my energy, but I acknowledge that.
I appreciate your honesty on that.
I feel terribly guilty about it, and we are putting away money for their counseling in the future. But you know what? My kids have learned lessons that I don't think would have been. I'm gonna cry now.
No, I want to just jump in here because your honesty on this is so refreshing, because I as well have 2 children that are not babies but young-ish, and it is hard.
Yes.
There is nothing easy about this. And I've said this at every single stage of my children. When they were first born, oh man, having a newborn is hard. Oh man, having a toddler is hard. Oh, now having preteens is hard. Like I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world, but it's hard to be everything for everyone. And I think you're right. There's always this constant voice in my own voice. It's my own fault.
Yeah.
My voice telling me, but I think it's what you see on social media and what you see other people. And this is the most honest answer I have ever had in this question. And that makes me feel like a human being. That makes me feel more real.
Why crazy can make you feel normal.
It does, because I feel like I literally can feel every single word that you're saying, because that is me as well. And I'm not going to put on this front that I have it all together. I don't. And I don't want to be around people who have it all together, because that makes me feel awful about myself, and it's just not the truth. It's just not the honest truth. That's my 2 cents about it. But
I have an amazing husband who has picked up a lot of the slack. So that has been amazing. We have 2 boys. So he has been taking them to hockey and all their activities for the past 2 years.
Just jumping in.
And he helps out at the barn. And I don't often tell him how much he's done, because I don't want it to go to his head. But yeah, he has definitely stepped up. And my kids have stepped up so much. They have had to grow up.
Yeah.
Which in some ways I feel bad about, that they've had to grow up quicker than I feel that they, like, especially my second one, he's growing up a lot faster than my first one had to.
Do they see you loving your work?
Yes, I think
Do they get that?
Some resentment, definitely resentment there. What? You have to do that again?
Right.
But it's just gotten easier and easier over time. I guess it's just their new normal.
Yeah.
I don't make dinner anymore. We eat a lot of cereal.
Yeah.
That's if we have milk in the house.
Right.
Like, I shipped both of my kids away this summer, which was awesome. They had an amazing time. They go to summer camp in Alberta.
Oh,
my
fun.
older one went for 6 weeks. I knew they were well cared for and fed and having fun with their friends. And I didn't have to feel as guilty, and I really was able to focus at our busiest time.
Well, that was an experience you were able to give to them.
Yeah, like they've been doing that for years, even before this, and it's something that our family really values. And my younger one went to visit a friend in Toronto for 10 days, and he went to stay with his Nana and Papa.
Wow.
And so, like, he got lots of experiences, and it was a win-win in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think also this year I've learned to take help. I've never been somebody who's been able to accept help very easily, but I've actually had to ask for it this year.
That's a humbling thing to do,
so
isn't it?
Hard, like having to have people carpool my kids, and I can't make it home in time. Can a neighbor go check in and make sure that my kids are still alive?
Yes,
or let
totally.
my dogs have not destroyed the house.
Yeah.
Or, just having to ask for help has been something that I've never been good at, and I still am not great at it, but it's something we've just
that's kind of
to do.
It is, and that's almost sometimes the only way that happens. Like, if you never have to ask for help, you will never learn to ask for help, right? So you have to be put into, you can't learn to be patient without any impatient moments coming your way where you can actually practice being those
so
things,
I've had to
right?
practice a lot of things, and it's I think that in the end, I hope that it will bring my family closer together.
Yeah.
We value our time together more now because it is rare.
Totally.
The last time we sat down for a dinner at our table was, oh my gosh, I can't even remember, more than a year.
Right.
If we do eat together, it's at a restaurant. So I'm failing in so many ways, but
I think that's the point, though, of like what balance isn't. Like, we're not trying to get to the place where I think a lot of people think of balance. I am totally derailing our last 5 questions here, but this is so much better. This is so much better. I think a lot of people think of balance as being like, okay, I am a woman, I am a wife, I am a mother, I am a career person, and I am going to be really good and wonderful at all of those things all at the same time. And if I drop a ball anywhere, then I'm a failure.
Yeah.
I think that's the definition of what people think balance is. And you're right. Like, there is no way to attain that. There are only 24 hours in a day. I only have 2 hands, 2 legs, 1 brain, like anybody else. Like, I can't create this magic time of, I already think I'm probably have a higher capacity than some of like what I am capable of getting done in a day, where there might be others who either just don't prioritize getting that much stuff done, which is very admirable as well. I wish I was more like that sometimes, but I think there's just this like unattainable thing where if you're like, you can't be successful and open an event venue and have your everything else running perfectly smoothly. It just is impossible. And so I think that it's amazing that I think part of the thing is being able to actually recognize that. I think that to me would be the only failure in any situation when I would look at it internally to myself, is not actually recognizing that I notice that things are out of balance and being like, I know what I need to do and time is going to make this happen. It's all going to happen. But if you're like, oh no, like whatever, I'm just going to leave my kids over here and like never think about them again. Like, that's a totally different thing than actually recognizing that, okay, this is a season.
Yes.
And there are going to be other seasons where we are going to be way more family focused, and I am going to have to practice letting go at the barn.
And
right.
That's what we're really working towards right now. So this fall, my goal is to have things in place for 2020, so I don't have to be at every event myself.
Right.
And I shouldn't even say you don't have to be. I've never had to be at every event. I want to be here. I want to see where the issues lie. And
that comes back to your processes and getting that all in place, right?
But also, it's a control freak thing too. It's like, I need to be here. I need to do it myself. I need to see it for myself, because how can I make the proper process if I haven't experienced it myself?
Right.
So that is the plan. I feel like we're on track. I have an amazing team, and I'm going to continue to assemble people for this amazing team so that eventually I can wean myself out of here.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the last few little questions because I want to know a few details about you. Okay, so we are sitting here drinking tea. Are you a tea drinker or coffee drinker?
No, definitely tea. I have resorted to coffee, out of desperation.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to be drinking coffee.
But no, I don't even like coffee. I like tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is something that you always have in your purse?
Oh God.
It can be really crazy. Like we can dig in here.
No, my purse is just the one consistent is a disaster. There's usually like a banana peel or something disgusting.
Not even a banana.
No, just like something. I always have something disgusting in my purse.
I love it. I'll remind myself to not go digging around in your purse.
No.
Yeah. Even in the busyness of it all, what would you say is, even if it's just an occasional moment, what is like one really small thing that you do for yourself for self-care? Like, do you ever have a bubble bath?
I take baths a lot. And even when I get home at 4 a.m. after an event, I often will take a bath.
Do you really?
Yes. And it's almost like it is for myself, but it's also like I don't know if I'd be able to walk the next day if I didn't, like with my Epsom salts.
And there's such a high after being at an event that you need to find your calm.
Yeah. So even though it's ridiculous, because often
you're just running the tub in the middle of the night.
And my husband, every time he's like, "What are you doing?" But I'm just like, it is. It's that just like decompression. I think, that would be the one thing.
Mentally then your body is like, it's bath time. Time to relax.
Shut down. Yeah. No.
That's impressive. I have never heard of that happening, even when it's like obviously events often are like middle of the night, you're tearing things down. But
no, it's just that I can
good girl. See?
Yeah. So there is something.
Check.
But that's like
self-care.
I also love listening to podcasts, and I listen to true crime, and I think that part of that is like, okay, I'm normal.
It's like crazier than what's happening in your own life.
Yes.
I love that. You eliminate your own crazy by hearing something crazier. I'm totally doing that. So I think you already answered sort of the last question already earlier, and I just wanted to jump back to a piece of advice that you would leave for people listening today who are maybe having a crazy dream, have a cool nudging and a stirring inside of them, like your party barn years ago, and now we're in your party barn, what would you say to somebody who's like, I just have been thinking about this idea and I just keep doubting myself? What would you say to that?
I think that just in general, not even just with your dreams, is that you can choose to be in control of yourself. So you can choose to listen to the negativity, or you can choose to look for positivity. And I think that's just with everything, is that you will find whatever you're looking for. And so if you constantly are looking for negative, you will find
that's what will find
so many reasons why something's not going to work. But if you're looking for those positive reasons, or if you're listening to that gut and you continue to just remember all the positive things and things to be grateful for, I think that you will find them.
I like that. Well, you have been an absolute ray of sunshine to my day. I love chatting with you. I could chat with you for another 8 hours.
I feel like we could continue to chat.
To be continued, we'll call this.
Okay, perfect.
So if people are interested in knowing more about the barn and booking their event, where can they look online to find
we
you?
have a very basic website right now. Our new one is in the works, so hopefully in the next few weeks or months, I don't know, we'll have a much better website. But right now, there's information about our phone number, our email, everything.
The details
like
there.
So that's thebarn@windsedge.ca.
And I will tag that in the show notes so that people can find you. And thank you for being on today. This has just been lovely.
This was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And you definitely put I was so nervous about it, and this was wonderful.
Thank you.
This show would not be possible without you, my incredible listeners. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to Celebrating Simple Life wherever you listen to podcasts. If you really want to make my day, leave a review. Each week, I will pick one review that will be read on the show, and the person who left that review will receive a special gift from me. Cheers to celebrating simple life.